Hello, I'm Richard Warner, and I'm an actor coach.
And I'm Erica Arvold. I'm a producer and a casting director.
How about we talk about this today? And that we have these questions all the time: is how can one manage a full-time career in school, full-time student, and also manage a professional acting career? Is it possible? What are some tips that we can offer you about how one juggles those two careers? And let's hear from a casting director about this. What do you say?
All I care about is that you're available. Truly, truly.
Yeah.
I don't need to know one's class schedule or extracurricular activities unless it's actually directly informing your character and you have a skill set that I didn't know about. But really, as far as scheduling goes, if you're available, that's what I want to hear.
Right, and we need to hear this. When I thought about this in answering this question, can I offer you this? Is that you have, if you're going to school now, you have examples all around you of people who are doing this. One of the most notable examples is the student athlete. And if you really look at that, they are holding down two careers as they're going to school. And we have to understand about it. A good student athlete is trying to maintain full course load as well as the preoccupation of a Division I sport. You know, theater students do the same thing. I have students who are holding down 5 classes at the University of Virginia and also rehearsing 6 days a week from 7 to 11 at night. And they're maintaining both those, some of them with double majors. So how do they do it? Here's what I think are some tenets. Number one, time management skills. Every one of them are completely organized. They understand that they need to stay organized. Number two, they know how to prioritize. They know how to say, I have 2 hours to focus on this event, and I'm going to give it my full focus, and now 2 hours to do this. So they really know how to, in that time management, to really prioritize, and that takes some discipline. And if we go back to the student athlete, what are some tenets of a good student athlete that we all know? Number one, they usually are very disciplined. Mm-hmm. And you have to be disciplined in order to do both of these well. Number two, obviously they're incredibly talented, the ones that are going to really excel. Number two, they really do have these time management skills. They have a way of organizing their life and allowing that not to frustrate or freak them out. Mm-hmm. And here's number three. This is an interesting one, the ability to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice something if you want to do both these things. What are you going to sacrifice? Maybe a little partying, your social world. You're going to be doing some sacrifices because you're asking yourself to do a very adult thing, which is become a professional actor. I'm here to tell you that one of the most adult things you can do with your life is to become an artist in America. Check it out. It's one of the most adult, mature things that you can do because you're running your own business and you're demanding a lot of emotional stuff from yourself. So my best advice is if you're really serious about becoming a professional, listen to Erica. They don't want to hear because, bear in mind, student athlete, the coaches are trying to conform and are in the academic system. So they're trying to conform schedules and all that. Sometimes that doesn't work, but that's what they're trying to do with some sacrificing. If you're going to go outside the system and ask a professional casting director to cast you, you have to understand that they don't have to conform to your academic schedule. Mm-hmm. They need you to be a professional. So one thing I've asked an actor, a very talented actor, is to consider a leave of absence. If they really wanted to pursue a career, then they need to take a leave of absence to school and really focus on that. And that's happened with some.
And I've had situations also when certain actors are at a very performance-driven school and their professors are incredibly supportive and there is some leeway. And so I've had actors, say, I can get out of this class, it's fine, etc. But I've never been asked to speak to a professor or write a letter or anything like that, like no permission slips or whatever. They take care of it on their own. They talk about it as an opportunity, and what they tell me is, I'm available. I have it worked out with school. I am totally available or completely available. And then I'm like, okay, gold, and we move on.
Please listen to that. That is really good advice. Is that would be my next step, is that if you're really going to do, and leave of absence is not possible, your next step is really be honest with your mentors, your academic mentors. And a lot of them, especially if they're in situations where they're sensitive to these opportunities, these unbelievably rare, wonderful young opportunities, and go further, in all honesty, realizing that this is worth the price of admission. I could teach you anything you wanted in the studio, but you're in a real life situation, which is going to be better for you, right? So I'm going to try to accommodate that as best I can within the playing rules. Right. Here's an example. We had a student just recently that was up for a really magnificent role that Erica was going to cast, but he was also a lead in the main stage production. And Erica, because we know each other, asked me whether or not this was going to be feasible. And I realized she really wanted this young man. I had to tell her, no. Because I felt
he told me no.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy for me because I realized in a millisecond, this is a terrific opportunity for this young man. But he had assumed the responsibility of a lead in our show, and we had no understudies. I would try to negotiate if it wasn't for the primacy of what he was doing for us. And I think that's a lesson he had to learn in the sense of making sure he didn't have conflicts and getting this straight. I guess what I'm saying is, why did he audition knowing that he had this commitment? Knowing that if he knew that
right.
he had,
well, that's another one, and that has to do a lot with theater as well, and not necessarily only school. Is because if you're auditioning for a film or a role in a television show, and you have a theater, the first question out of my mouth is, "What are your outs? Do you have an understudy?"
Yes.
Because the schedule is variable always, and even if the date is locked, something can happen and the date can shift. So. In terms of our schedule. So the flexibility is when I'm saying, are you available? And you say yes, that can be that you're in your mind are saying, I'm completely flexible. I will figure out a way to work it out. But if you don't figure out the way to work it out, and at the end of the day, you're like, oh no, I actually have a conflict, that's bad news.
Right. Right. And let me pick up on something Erica said, is that they're not trying to they're not being, sometimes I hear actors say, well, they told me one thing and they can't do it. This is especially with independent film. You hear them saying, well, they told me I could be out by the afternoon. Well, they're not bad guys when they don't release you in the afternoon. You're just not understanding what happens in the art of filming. Especially if you're outdoors, there's so many factors that can mean that you have to be flexible about it. Light and sound and weather. There are a whole bunch of factors that say, we'd like to get you out early afternoon, but we're going to need you till midnight. That's the flexibility she's talking about. Mm-hmm. The freedom to do this. And the ability and the responsibility is making sure that flexible means flexible, that you have a chief responsibility in the afternoon that is not something that you can, in fact, make up in some way, squaring it with your academic mentors in order to have the freedom to really do your job as a professional actor.
Yeah. I mean, I truly appreciate always when people say in advance, I say, would you like to come audition for X job, it shoots on these 3 days. And when someone right at the beginning says, you know what, one of those days I am not available, is it still, do you still want me to come in and audition? And that is like that to me, I'm like, ding, ding, that's a professional. And I may say, no, don't audition. And I'm still inside going, ding, ding, that was a professional. I'm so excited they were straight with me to begin with.
Yeah. So to end this, we're saying, be honest, be organized, be disciplined, be willing to sacrifice if you want to do both of these professions. But I always say this to my students, want it all and try to get it all. That's the way I think all good actors do when they multitask.